Yeah. Today is July 3rd, 2018. Get ready for the Emerging Sea broadcast system, the Forbidden History series, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Time to call your friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's what they didn't want you to know. Okay? You did want to know, didn't you? Of course you did. And so do your friends. So do your friends a courtesy and give them the benefit of the doubt that they want to know too. And thanks for doing that. Hope everybody's going to be having a safe 4th and just take note of the time. Please note that the following views and the opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society. Nothing here is ever to be construed as medical legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History twice a day, prime time, 7 days a week, right here on the realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way, 7 days a week, twice a day at 9 a.m. Eastern Time every morning and 8 p.m. Eastern Time every evening, the Forbidden History series, The Great Lies of History, The Piracy of Words, The Original Thought, Transliteration Project, The Original Gospel, Symbolism, and what they didn't want you to know. So tell your friends and stand by for the broadcast. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's the Forbidden History series, The Piracy of Words, The Original Gospel, Transliteration Project, and you, ladies and gentlemen, you are here with us. And welcome. Love Matters. Good to have our friends out there tuning in. And I'm your host, Desert Owl. And a bird who sees in the night, I give a hoot. And as what they used to say in Texas, give a hoot, don't pollute on the highways, okay? And yeah, I see you got your name back. I couldn't say the other one. It was too many words to look at when I'm doing my broadcast. So I'm glad you got back to simple. Love matters. Thank you very much, love. So, so ladies and gentlemen, yeah, every morning the history of the church and the original gospel, history of the church by Eusebius, and then the original gospel, the best kept secret on earth, the most important gospel of all of them all. It's totally synoptic and has the other three gospels in it. You've got some recordings there. You can listen, okay? But we're live every morning. I'd love to have you, and we, we take callers here, okay? So you don't have to. Be shy, or I'm hoping to have a caller generated program where we can, answer anybody's questions. If you've been trying to figure something out and, you're scratching your head still, well, then maybe, just maybe, I have experience there, being a former political activist, having two former organizations, and then also all my lifetime of study, ancient history, and you name it. Okay, I left no stone unturned as far as I can tell, and I meditate every day upon the what if and the great potentials that have surrounded our universe, okay, from the beginning. And so if you want to call in, that's 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. Did I go too fast? Oh, I repeat it all the time, but it's 608-566-7295. How about that? Did I slow it down? Okay, very good. And I think you'll get it. If you hang in there, we'll be I think this is what, program number 12 now. So almost half a month of broadcasting after a year. Today is officially the day my DIL files went down on my Windows 7 computer. Those DIL files were made to go down, I think, so that people buy new hardware. But boy, what a drag that was, And then couldn't afford a computer and had to wait till January from early this year, or February, and got another one, and still trying to ramp up, get my old data transferred. So the Skype call-in number is Free America Radio, all one word, Free America Radio. And hello, Diane, out there in the UK. Good to have you. And and then you can use Skype for. I'd like to test Skype one of these days to see how it works. And otherwise, we've got the instant messenger, so you can type questions there as well in case I miss it, in the chat room. Because if you're gonna post a question in the chat room, then put the word question in all capital letters, and maybe with a question mark or a colon after it, and then type out your question with upper and lower case as you typically write. But but to get my attention, I will see the big word question. That will help me. Or if it's a request, in lieu of a question, if it's a request, put the word request in all capital letters as well, because you may just want me to repeat, for instance, repeat something that I said. So just put it in capital letters, request. That way I get the picture, okay? Because I don't want to ignore anybody, but it's a matter of, when I'm juggling over here, it's hard to stay focused, okay? Everything gets to be a blur at one point. The Khazarian Zionist, someone referred to them as juice. I like that terminology, the juice. Well, that was O.J. Simpson, though, right? Okay, yeah, never mind. So the Khazarian Zionist, someone who is claiming to be Israel but is not, said this in the Book of J, which is the oldest text that's in the British Museum, in the foreword in there, because they were trying to show their skill, their technical skill in translating the ancient document, in contrast to how our scriptures are translated or transliterated, right? So this is their quote about us, the Goyim, and our scriptures, okay? No one in the West can now hope to ever read the Bible without having been conditioned by it, or by the various mistranslations that it has engendered. Okay? They're saying they know something that the dumb Christians don't know, because they're drinking the fluoride and breathing in all the chemical spraying and eating all the bull, the papal bull that's come down the pike. So let me read that again, because this is it's in our face. Okay? They're laughing all the way to their banks, right? No one in the West can now hope to ever read the Bible without having been conditioned by it, or by the various mistranslations that it has engendered. Wow, they know something that most Christians will die saying, hey, the King James Version is perfect. Nothing wrong with it. Don't touch that King James, man. It's really amazing. Let's see what we got. Question. Okay. Target. Yeah. So I'll be right there. Love matters. Hang on. But so get the point, ladies and gentlemen, that these people knew. They were the ones who gave us the Masoretic text. That's the original word for Egypt. The Masoretes out of Switzerland gave us the Masoretic text. The first time the Hebrews ever locked in on vowel points, because they didn't want you to get the picture. They locked it in on their translation, what they wanted you to have. Okay. So that's what we're telling here. We're revealing the truth. Okay, we're not softballing it. We're throwing a straight ball. Okay, because that's the only thing we got left is to just say let's just say like it is. Let's stop sugarcoating everything and spiritualizing everything, because what we're talking about is literature. Literature, ladies and gentlemen. We have no original scriptures. Therefore, none of what we have can be claimed to be inspired, because they're only copies of copies of copies, and they've been adulterated and manipulated by man. So let's see. Love Matters has a question here. Targeted individuals has come out. Targeted individuals have come up a lot lately. Okay, and would explain the emotions coming out of nowhere lately. The emotions. Well, certainly targeted individuals are more prone to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and mental breakdown due to persecution. But at the same time, very often they become more keenly aware of their environment. So my hats off to targeted individuals. I used to interview them as well as mind control victims, and know the score. Okay, and I'm also a targeted individual as well, because I speak truth. and you will know the truth, and you will become a fugitive. Okay, so and that's okay, because the good news is I'm connected with the one who made all things. He is my Redeemer. He is the one who called me. He is the one who has given me light, and I'm following. And I would just love people to be able to follow with me, because we have somebody that loves us beyond our comprehension at this moment of what real love is, and it's an endless journey of discovery. And then laughing out loud, King James version has come up a lot too. Well, certainly, I like to pose the question. Well, if King James is, somehow, what do you want to call it? The book from heaven, I guess, for lack of a better way. Well, then, and it's the authorized, and it's the only version. And what was the authorized version prior to 1611, right? Okay, so you see right there out the gate, they can't answer that one, because other versions were there for reproof, inspiration, enlightenment, historical record, whatever it does for the soul, whatever it can do. It's literature. And King James was an occultist. He was a Freemason occultist, and he wrote the Book of Beasts before he did he stole William Tyndale's 1500 translation and just re-altered it. So and of course the record shows apparently that King James was a homosexual, and his son Charles had his head cut off. King James was held in derision throughout all history for some reason. I don't get the reasoning for that. It's possible Diane might know that answer, coming from UK, but I only know that King James was held in derision. His son Charles took the throne, and then he got booted out, and they cut off his head to, set the record straight. We have no fear. We know we are in protection of the great Elohim and of the Mashiach. Yes, Diane, thank you so much for your words. Okay, so the duality revealed, ladies and gentlemen, is the way I like to start off the program, because we talk about the enigma. We got to tell truth, and therefore, unless we can, in other words, like find, look at the problems, the symptoms. What is the problem? Then we can find solutions. But if we ignore the symptoms, ignore the problem, but that is words that come from paganism, what are we doing embracing a tradition that has words that come from paganism? I thought we came from an Eastern, culture. Okay, you're not a historian. Okay, not a problem. And I read the story once, Diane, but I forgot it. I'm pretty sure I read that that story one time, but it's too much information to keep, and so I'm constantly going back to English history and Great Britain and all that. Okay, so we're talking about the duality revealed in the patterns. We're showing the problem. So okay, so I've got two aspects of it now. Actually, let me see. I may not save. I saved that one maybe for tomorrow, but I don't want to overwhelm. I'm doing my best to narrow down the program to a 90-minute in the evening, and hopefully an hour in the daytime, because I know people have other things to do, and I appreciate your friend, all of you being here. I know you can listen to the recording. So, in regard to the duality, I got something for you. Okay, let me turn on another light. Let's see if this one will work. Hang on. That one might do it. Okay, so let me pull that over here, and this over here. So, in regard to this duality, we've been talking about how Israel ceased to exist in 730 BC, right? But even in the totality of this nation that split apart, Israel and Judah with Benjamin, then ultimately even Judah is annihilated. And so here it goes. Okay, this is I was reading this just today. It's the continuing saga, where now even not only Israel is banished and dissipated into the twilight, but even Judah, because of the especially for what Manasseh did. He was the most wicked of them all. I believe it was he who cut Isaiah or Ezekiel. I can't remember which one of the navigators, the prophets, cut him in half with a saw. you know. So here it goes. Uh, I'm backing up a little bit just to make sure. So he conducted it by instructions of the law. Okay, they discovered the original law book, in the temple, and this kind of set a tone where they were trying to turn around, but it was too late. And so such a king as he was had not been before. And who's he talking about here? Forgive me. Hang on. Josiah. I think. Okay, so in the 19th year of Josiah. So such a king as he was had not been before him, who turned with all of his heart and all of his strength before the Yahweh, in accordance with the whole law of Moses, because they found the record, the original documents, the master copies in the walls in the temple when they were remodeling it. And so he did everything he could to come back home to Yahweh, but it was too late. So he was honored, but here's what happened. Okay, so however, and in accordance with the whole law of Moses, he went after, and after him there did not arise another like him. However, Yahweh, who they mispronounce as Yahweh, Yahweh, did not turn from the great anger which consumed him against Judah, on account of all the insults with which Manasseh had insulted him and killed his navigators, his prophets. The Yahweh consequently said, quote, I will turn away Judah from before my face, as I have turned Israel or Israel, and will waste this city of Jerusalem. I will waste it. That I choose. That is what I choose. And this house where I said my name shall be. Unquote. Okay? That's Yahweh, the one who made the universe, talking. As to the other affairs of Josiah and all that he did, they are recorded in the history of events in the times of the royal Malachim, the royal rulers of Judah. Okay? And so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. It's a slam dunk to be able to prove that all of Israel was annihilated, and because this is being written in 622, and therefore it's still approximately 100 years before Nebuchadnezzar begins to take. Actually, it's less than that. Apparently, I'm looking here. Nebuchadnezzar comes on the scene in 607, so it's less than 50 years then before the destruction of the temple. Okay, so we're talking annihilation of the entire race of Israel, and so in this prediction we have here, and I will turn away Judah from before my face, as I have turned Israel, and will waste this city of Jerusalem. And so guess what? It happened with Nebuchadnezzar, right? They tore the city down. But it happened again. It happened twice. And the second time was in 68 AD to 70 AD. It was sieged by the Roman Empire by Flavius Vespasian, who in 69 AD approximate, he became emperor of Rome. His son Titus took over the siege, Titus Vespasian, and then by 70 AD, they had annihilated all of Jerusalem. They sieged it for 2 years. Mass starvation occurred, and people were eating their children. People were eating each other. They were, anyone who escaped through the tunnels or off the walls, the Roman soldiers immediately took them and they sliced them open to cut out their bowels so they can find the jewelry that they probably swallowed before they left, which is typical to the to these cultures, to take their jewels and eat them so that they can get them later on and don't have to carry them in their hand and look like they're empty-handed when they got their jewels inside their body. And so literally the city because it was the Passover, the Pesach, where normally it has 1 million people. It had 2 million people because of people coming from all over the world when they closed the gates on all the people inside because they were being sieged upon by Rome. Yeshua warned about it. Remember, he said, when you see Jerusalem being marched upon, no, don't go back into the city. Don't go to get your coat, but flee to the mountains. And when he said the mountains, he meant Tibet. He said, get out of Dodge, because it's going to be the greatest slaughter in the history of mankind. And like Diane over there saying, OMG, well, you know, how come we never hear about the greatest slaughter in the history of mankind? Because it belongs to Jerusalem, and they don't want to have a bad reputation. So they never talk about it. But literally, the Valley of Gehenna, which was the garbage dump, was filled with like at least 500,000 bodies, if not more, close to the million, I guess, when they cleaned out the the temple area, or the city. So near 1 million people were thrown into the Valley of Gehenna, and it said a river of blood and body fluids all just flowed out, and so it's on record as being the greatest single slaughter in the history of mankind. Do you get the picture that Yahweh rendered judgment on these people for being so wicked? And there's nothing new under the sun, because another group just decided to adopt their name and is just as wicked as they were back then. And so the city has been destroyed twice. And what part of rend the kingdom from you don't people get? And banished and destroyed the remnant of Israel. And then everybody, all these Christians out there, Israel, God's chosen, bow down and worship them. Oh, the special people. Well, they may have been a little regarded as chosen at one time, but what about the rejection? How come nobody mentions the rejection? You see, you can't have it both ways. If you're going to embrace the story, well, then let's read the entire story. They're no longer chosen. They were rejected, ladies and gentlemen. And so that's the forbidden history, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. And so tell your friends, okay? They don't have to be deceived. You got to read the book. That's coming out of, 2 Kings, chapter 23, verse 25 through 28 that I read to you. Okay, so you can see and read it for yourself. And it's a terrible world. It's absolutely. So get this little footnote here. Amazing. So they built an arch in Rome. And the arch is right outside the Colosseum. And, they literally sacked the temple and the treasury and all of the wealth of Jerusalem, and they brought it all back to Rome. And so in the arch, right outside the Colosseum, they show the procession of all of the treasures of Jerusalem coming to Rome. And you can tell because you got the menorah there. All bit late. What's all bit late? Hey everyone, hi. Oh, you're a bit late. Okay, gotcha, Martha. Good to have you. That's all right. You didn't miss a lot, but yeah, it was a little intense there, so you'll have to go back and listen. But okay, so after the takedown of Jerusalem, then they bring back all the wealth from the city of Jerusalem, and so it was so much wealth. The amount of money. Remember, these Pharisees were merchants and criminals, thieves, and hoarders of great reservoirs of wealth of an entire civilization on the Levant. We're talking wealth. Okay, it was a trading center, and so guess what they did with all the money? Flavius Vespasian, who became emperor, his 2 sons followed him, Titus, and then I forget his other son's name at the moment. I'm not sure. I don't want to guess. But so anyway, with this triumphant arch that showed all the treasures of Jerusalem, you can see it today. You know, if you watch any documentary and it shows you the arch outside of, you know, the Colosseum. So literally, the siege on Jerusalem and all the wealth they brought back becomes the funding for the great Colosseum. The destruction of Jerusalem then funds the gladiatorial great Colosseum, where then ultimately they're going to kill, you know, more spiritual people and have parties. You know, the blood, let the blood continue. You know, so oh boy, what a world we have, ladies and gentlemen. You know, can't imagine how difficult it would have been to live back then. You know, we get hurt and injured, we get to go to a hospital. You know, back then they get hurt and injured, and you know, if they were lucky, if they had opium or you know, to numb the pain, but it was a tough world back then. And then, you know, imagine going to battle. You know, if you get hit with the sword in your belly, you're as good as dead. You know, they didn't have the ability to fix people, you know, the way they do now. So it was an amazing world. So that's the duality revealed. Okay, that was part 2 of the total annihilation and destruction of Jerusalem. Okay, and we need truth is what we need, and we need true history. So in the symbolism, a real quick spin on symbolism. Okay, and we're dealing with the word shield. So in the primary sense, now before I go there, because I want to give an example of you know, the Bauer family, the banking family that went to work for the Vatican, and they changed their name to Rothschild. That's Red Shield. And so in the Catholic Encyclopedia, it says that the Jewish Bauer banking family, the Rothschilds, are the protectors and defenders of the Vatican Trust. And so the Vatican is the prime symbol for the red carpet and the red boots and the red regalia, which basically symbolizes the blood of the earth that they've been spilling from the beginning of time. But their front, their protective arm, that is a scapegoat for them. You know, they got everybody looking at the Jews when it's the Vatican also, you know, beyond the Jews. It's not the Jews aren't running the world. Okay, Jewish banking is the instrument of the Vatican, and so they named him Red Shield, Rothschild. So they changed their name into a symbol that is very symbolic, because it means they are the shield for the Vatican. Okay, so everybody be looking at the Jewish banking and not looking, you know, to the other hand of the you know, the Vatican, you know, terroristic state that's running the world basically under the guise of religion. And so that's how the symbol of a shield works. Okay, we know a shield in the battlefield is there to protect us from the slings and arrows, but they, you know, you can imagine if it were a steel or metal shield, they would polish it, and then it could shine in the reflection in the sun and actually blind people if they had that type of a shield. Most of the times they didn't. They had wooden shields, or their shields were bronze or painted, and you know, and but that potential was there, and I think it's occurred in battles more than once. You know, that they used the shields to reflect off the sun, and you'd be at a real disadvantage. You know, if you were you know, the sun was behind you and you're going towards a bunch of shiny shields. Okay, so anyway, in the symbolism of the shield, the primary shield is the sun. Okay, and basically they've put up a shield to hide the sun from us with their occult switch outs, like I told you yesterday or this morning. The word heaven, you know, heaven is a cover for the word sun, for the word sky, for the word cosmos. They use one word for many different uses, and we never get the picture. Okay, so that's a shield. The word heaven is a shield, but the sun is the primary shield of Yahweh, the great symbol. It is the shield that is reflecting back down onto the earth, and that is you know, trying to convey a story and get us to look at it, to get the picture that is the way home. Back to the light is where we come from. The light, the atomic flux of creation comes out of a star, and then the orbs begin to rotate and circulate around the mother star because they need the warmth. They need the continual flow of energy that comes from the mother star. You see, you don't hear anybody say this stuff, but that you know it's true because you've seen it all your life, but nobody ever said it. Okay, so a little bit in Words That Kill, and it was who was it? It was I believe it was Anna out of Finland, and she had asked a question about the Magi, well, a little bit more about the Magi when we were talking about it. So I've got a little bit more. Hopefully, Anna in Finland will listen in and hear this part. Okay, but I just happened to be reading it today in my dictionary on all scriptures and myths. And you really need to get a copy of this because anything you're looking up in your scriptures will be in here. He's covering all the scriptures. Okay, it's amazing. Dictionary of all scriptures and myths by Gaskell, Gaskell, and the publisher is Gramercy, Gramercy, Gramercy. Okay, so get a copy because it's a gem. You want to know the symbolism of anything in your scriptures? Well, that's right in here. Any word. Okay, any word. It's fantastic. So so here we go. Real quick, I'm going to try and knock this out and get to our read. I know everybody wants to hear the rest of the story about the Watchers. Okay, so let me take a sip of my tonic here, and I'll be right with you. I want to welcome any of our new listeners out there. I'm so grateful that I see we have some friends that really are absorbing these presentations because they're getting the picture. That whatever it is that Yeshua has done with me in the revelations that he's given me, the ability to see the anointing of truth and the vision, being an owl, one who sees in the night. And part of it had to be because I was a political activist, because I saw the corruption in the government, and I made the connection, the modern with the ancient, connecting the past with the present. These are the connections that most people can't make because they didn't happen to go on the journey that I went on with collecting books and reading ancient history, and it was an inspiration. Okay, I don't take credit for it. I was inspired by Yavohe and our great Elohim Yeshua. I was inspired to do this. Okay, it's a miracle from that standpoint. I could have been a couch potato, and just not knowing anything. When I look at couch potatoes today, I feel so sorry for them. Boy, just to think I could have been one of those. I once you know that you know that you know, and you know what you know, and you never knew that you'd know these things that you've ultimately learned, not knowing that they were going to come across your table, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? This really happened? Whoa, and so it's like we have no idea. That fits the scripture that says, "I hath not seen, nor ear heard the things that I prepared for those who love me." Okay. So it's beyond the imagination. There is something so fantastic, and you got to keep going towards it. It's an active energy. It's moving. It's like continually walking and not stopping, in order to have the experience. A connection is for everybody. Anybody can have it. He does not discriminate. He wants all to come to him, not like Israel, who turned away, but to turn around and come back and face the light and see it. And see it through Yeshua, because he's the softer light like the moon. Obviously, in the metaphor, you cannot look directly at the sun because it's so bright. And then that instance, it represents Yahweh. And therefore, he created the softer light, Yeshua, that we can look towards. And it's represented by the moon. So you see, even the moon has the duality, both for the occult and for the enlightened. It's always a duality. Stand by. Wow. I've waited so long to be able to share this stuff with you folks, since I haven't broadcast in 6 years. I mean, I've just been studying, praying, asking, for mercy from the Father above for, to hit the mark and not to miss the mark, and to, to be able to serve again. And so it's like I've been chomping at the bit, and I'm on hyper steroids right now, to share all this with you, because especially when we know what's out there in the sky, right? We know what's up there in the sky. We're about to witness something that only happens like once every 5,500 years, and it's been and it brings on the annihilation practically of all life on Earth, and then it kick starts all over again. Stand by. We're going to see our loved ones. What a beautiful sky with those clouds and all that red. I can't get over the dramatic way it looks now. But we're about to witness starvation, mass starvation, and these diseases that they created in the laboratory that they're going to throw out there on all of us. You know, we're about to see the greatest betrayal culminating against mankind, and there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing, because it's not our world. It's in the hands of Yeshua. What he says is, "Come unto me, come unto me, and I can set you free, and you don't have to be caught up in all that. You can be focused on the eternal realm, another world right here, and not know fear and anxiety and all the other negative emotions from hatred to confusion and all those things. You can be connected. You can be a part of the enlightenment that he wants to offer. You don't see that in the in the mainstream traditions because they're in the beast system. We have to come out of the beast system, and you'll find yourself a solitary creature. There may nobody want to go with you because the truth is stranger than fiction. It's 180 degrees in the other direction from what everybody's saying. It's amazing, They do it for the filthy lucre, for the money. What a business. All you got to do is come to your bullpit every Sunday for 45 minutes, and you got 1,000 people there twice putting money in the box and pass it around, bring it back, and then count your money at the end of the day. What a business operation, I'm telling you that the Pharisees knew that. The priesthood knew that. They got all the free food, everything, creature comforts, whatever it was all for them. That's why it was their Achilles heel. It was what corrupted them. It was the greatest, a liability. That's why when, who held the money bag? Who held the money bag out of the 12, right? It was Judas. He held the money bag, you see? So it's very symbolic, and we went over that, I think, this morning, that story, if not yesterday, and showed, he was the proverbial scapegoat. He got paid. Oh, in the name Issachar, when we looked up Issachar, and we saw, he received his wages. So he represents the earth, the scapegoat. The earth isn't going. Matter cannot go. That's why we have to crucify the flesh. We have to kill it. The serpent needs to be stamped under our feet as if it's worthless and nothing, because it's the illusion. We keep taking care of that serpent every day. We look at the serpent, we comb the serpent, we put, what I'm saying. It's a mystery. It's an amazing universe, ladies and gentlemen, to overcome. So here we go. Magi from the east, a symbol of those qualities which are enlightened intellectually. So that's what they represented, intellectual enlightenment. And they came and bowed down. These wealthy and great men in their own right came and bowed down to a baby that they knew was the one from the beginning, the Moshiach, the one who was going to set mankind free. The Magi, right? M-A-G-I. There's different, M-A-J-I, they spell it, and those are all the corrupted forms. It's Magi or Magi. It might, those are variables. There's no exact variable on that per se, but I think Magi might be the most original because it means the eye, the mother's eye, in the light of the sun. In one aspect, it's the center. It's because in a mag wheel, the eye of the mag is in the center. Okay, you bet, Love Matters. So here we go. Symbol of those qualities which are enlightened intellectually. Now, when Yeshua was born in Bethlehem of Judah in the days of Herod the king, you must see and read it for yourself. Wise men came from the east, came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who is born the royal Malach of the Judeans? For we saw his star in the east and are come to pay homage unto him." Matthew 2, 1 through 2. Now, when the Mashiach soul, or the Christ mind, was brought forth in the condition of purity and peace, in the cycle when the lower principle, symbolized by Herod, the lower principle, ruled the soul, there arose qualities enlightened intellectually which aspired towards truth. And these sought for the true ruler of the soul's quality, for they saw the promise of his coming in the rise of knowledge, symbolized by the star, and they hastened to adore the incoming light of the world. The wise men and others, it simply means that the earthly mind in which the precious gifts are born pays adoration to the newborn. So just like he was newborn as a babe, we become newborn as a babe as well. It's a reflection on that, certainly. And that comes from Zion's Works by J. Ward, Volume 3, page 4. The East is the mystical term for the source of the light of the sun. The function of the rulers of the East is to announce the epiphany of the divine life and to be the sponsors of the Mashiach, the Christ, the godfathers of the star of the baby. To them it is appointed to discern him from afar off, and to hurry quickly to affirm and declare him while yet in his cradle. Their offerings of gold, frankincense, and myrrh denotes the recognition of the individual indwelling, the recognition of the indwelling divinity that is hiding in all of us by the prophetic, priestly, and regal attributes of man, representing respectively the spirit, the soul, the mind, and soul is shul, its knowledge. And they are symbolized as a royal messenger, a queen and a king, and they are actually right aspiration, right perception, and right judgment. So the gold is the right aspiration, the frankincense is the right perception, and the myrrh is the right judgment. The first implies enthusiasm for the radiant light of the great Elohim and the advancement of the shuls, the knowledge, unalloyed by any selfish end. The second implies a vision for things spiritual, undimmed and undistorted by intrusion of elements, material or astral. And the third implies the ability to compare like with like and preserve the affinity of similar things, so that these things spiritual may not be confounded with the things physical, but to Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, and shall be rendered the things of Yahweh, and to Caesar give the things to Caesar. So to Yahweh give the things that should be rendered to him, and to Caesar give the things that should be rendered to Caesar. And that comes from The Perfect Way, page 240. So just wanted to give you a little example of this wonderful dictionary again, ladies and gentlemen. I read a different alphabet of it every day. I go into another word definition in the alphabet, and then I go back every 26 days. I go back to the letter A, and then I do the next definition in there, and then the next day letter B. And so that's how I read dictionaries. I'm reading 2 encyclopedias on symbolism. And because once I started seeing this thing, I realized I needed to pursue the knowledge. I'm not just going to wait for Yeshua, to magically give it to me all the time. I have to pursue the knowledge because he put me on the trail of that enlightenment. So naturally, I want to know more quicker and do some legwork myself. And then by my efforts, he then, puts me on the right page at the right time when I need it. That's the miracle, just like tonight, I had that for you. So, okay. And that's for Anna if she gets to hear this. I hope so. And so we talked about the word about heaven earlier today or yesterday. I lose track of what I talked about now, what time, but forgive me. But so the word heaven, I pointed out that in its correct form, if we're going to use it, then would be the female's name, Yvonne. Okay, and so Yvonne, which is typically spelled Yvonne. I said should be correctly spelled Yvonna, and it has variable meanings. But go back and listen to the recording on the other one. I don't have the other card with the writing in front of me, but I realized when I thought about that today, I said, it's got because of the sound and because of the symbol, it has to have an A in front of it, and so it was still abbreviated, as I say they do to all of our words, and so it's Yvonna. The AY at the beginning creates the first word for what we say for our I, EYE. That's the original spelling, AY. It's your A. You look with your A because that's the first letter of the alphabet, and that's the caret that projects out, right? It continues to expand the farther you see out. It's continually opening up the horizon. And so the letter A is the picture of the I coming down as light. And so Yvonna, therefore, is the eye of the one harvest. That's what it means, the eye of the one harvest. And so isn't that what happened? Yahweh, through the great Elohim, created the earth, the garden. It created the earth, the garden, and the atom is shining down, the sun, the ATOM is shining down. And so that's the eye looking down and is looking down upon the harvest. In the garden, he wants to pick the fruit, but he doesn't see any ripe fruit. He sees a bunch of rotten fruit down here. And so the harvest is continually happening whenever somebody has finally perfected their fruit. Okay, the fruit of the light. Perfect fruit, ladies and gentlemen. So then the harvest comes, and that's when one receives the great breath of the wind and fire, or the Holy Spirit. So words are fluid, and we have to recognize that once we become masters of the diction, of the symbol, then it all begins to make sense. And I'm going to go through the symbols every day, and I'm going to take you through the alphabet. I haven't cleaned off my whiteboard yet with permanent marker. Big mistake. I didn't realize what I was doing. Finally, after all this time, I get to use it, and I used the wrong marker. I can't get over it. So we learn as we go, don't we? So here I'm going to give you a really good example now. Okay, really good example of some words. Get your pen and paper ready, and I'm going and this will show you. In other words, this is how I knew. This is how I knew that we were working with the code, and that the code was written in a way that you could back engineer it to the Eastern original thought. And so here it goes. Write down these words, one under each other. Okay, put the next one under it, and you can skip a space, but we're going to give the answer to the words. So I'm going to give you the words first in our modern English, the hook, and I'm going to show you how the code works. So write down the word he, H-E, okay, and then under that write down the word me, M-E. Under that write the word him, H-I-M, and then under that write the word she, S-H-E, okay? So put a hyphen after he, and when you know that the H is the word the, and that the E is the corruption for the word I, that's why when you go to your Internet Explorer, you click on the blue E, right? You're looking. You're exploring with your eye, first letter E on the word explore. So literally the word he in the original thought is the I, okay? So write down the I. That's he. So in the ancient time, if I were going to point my finger at somebody and say he, I would have said the I. The I, that guy over there, just like in school, the teacher calls you pupil, right? You're the pupil. Well, guess what? You never think that's the I? You're the pupil. That means you're her eyes. You're all looking for her, right? And so the I, that's the original, and it goes right back to the sun, because the primary I is the sun. And now let's look at the word me. Put a hyphen after me, and what's the prime root of M? I know you ladies have been listening long enough to me now. You know how to figure out the prime root of the letter M. I'm going to take a sip and see if anybody's got an answer. Okay. Well, I'm going to give it to you then, because I don't know how much our delay is here. But M-E, if I say, do you mean me? Do you mean me? Well, what I just said was, did you mean the mother's I? So M is the prime root, the parent root of mother. Okay? The mother's I. E is the I. So if you're talking about me, you're talking about the mother's I. Well, you're thinking of the letter in the middle of the capital, Diane, and that's true. You got it. The capital M is hiding the Virgin Mother in the middle, and on each side is the pillar. And we could also call them columns. And so they very much symbolize the columns that they built in the in the past that we just read about with Israel. The reason Israel was destroyed because they were building the columns for their Virgin Mother, the Fae, also known as whatever else they called her back then. But the V is right there in the capital. You got it. That's you. So it's three symbols. The capital M is three symbols. It's two columns. And they're holding up the woman. And so what do the two columns symbolize if they're holding up the woman? They are the sun and the moon. The moon was not made by aliens. The moon was made by Yahweh. Not like David Icke said. And so the columns are holding up the woman. And she was beautiful at one time and a virgin. But then she became a whore and demanded blood. And then all we saw is slaughter and warfare and torture and rape and pillage and murder. So that's the dichotomy again. So with the next one, we're looking at him. So if I were to point to somebody and say him, in the I am, like in Elohim, is plural. It's the many. So what it means is the many. So if I were to point to somebody and I say, you mean him? I would have said the many. Because he's another one of another one of another one. And so I'm pointing at the many, him, not at me, the mother's I, but at the many. And so I'm writing it down, the many. And so then she, you can see, is male, female, because all you do is add an S to the word he, and you get she. And so the S is what? The serpent. And didn't I tell you that matter being mother is the serpent, that everything that exists is represented in a form as the serpent? Our flesh is the serpent. The sun is the serpent. The river is the serpent. Electricity is the serpent, right? It's everything in the metaphor is the serpent. So just add a symbol of the serpent to the male, and you get the female, the symbol of creation, the serpent. Okay? So there'll give you a little bit of, I think, a deeper impression of how this original thought works. Okay, I hope that helps you. See, I got one more word. Yeah, one more word, because I used it in that reading, and I said that soul was shul. So you have a soul, but the soul means the sun. And so therefore it's represented by your head. But when we talk about the word soul, it has to have an H in the original. So it's really shul. So therefore the soul in the sky is also the shul in the sky. And the soul in your head is also the shul in your head, which means the place of knowledge. So the sun represents the light of enlightenment, the place of knowledge, and so does your head, your brain. That's your shul. That's your soul. That's your knowledge. That's your pearl of great price. Okay? So it's all in there, you know, and once again, nobody talks about this stuff, and I wonder why. when it's all relevant truth to unraveling the great mystery of where we are, ladies and gentlemen. And so guess what? We're going back to the lost books of the Bible and the forgotten books of Eden. And again, you're welcome to call in. I hope one day you will, and that we can say hello. A lot of people I haven't spoken with yet. Some of you I have, and I'm looking forward to as much diversion as I can get possible to hear somebody else talk. It's not like I want to hear myself talk, and I'm talking myself out to boot. So where am I at here? Read. Okay, there we go. All right. So read. So, and I hope you're all going to have a very safe Fourth. With the way things are, and the way they do false flags, friends. You know about that, I'm sure. It would be very. I think, especially if I had family, I would not go anywhere where there were crowds. I would go. Stay home or go to a friend's place. Or somewhere in the country, enjoying nature, which can. But you got that solar radiation. You can't stay out there. I mean, what a mind blower, huh? They destroyed our world. We can't even go outside anymore. So, maybe the best thing is stay home and watch documentaries and read scriptures and play games with the little ones, and just love each other and make preparations for survival. Teach your little ones crafts. Learn how to make a fire with sticks and a bow and and a spindle. Learn survival tactics. It's time for that now. You know that. I've been in this game with looking at these psychopaths wanting to kill us for 30 years now. All right. I used to do survival on my programs. I bring other survivalists on. We did urban survival. We talked about all kinds of survival, and I studied how to live off the land. Okay, I could go out in the wilderness anywhere, and I know what to eat. Okay, I've eaten cactus, I've eaten snake, I've eaten cattails, the roots, the stems, made pancakes out of the pollen on the stalk in the spring. I read all the books, how to survive. So I could do it. I can do it. Maybe not as good as some of those really good guys that have been, still studying it all these years, and these younger guys. But I know survival, and I know what to eat out there. There's food all around there. It's a grocery store out there if you know what to eat. But if you don't know what it is, how can you eat it? I've made dandelion coffee. I've eaten dandelions in my salad. I even ate mushrooms. I was probably stupid enough when I was young. I shouldn't have eaten those mushrooms, And yuck, yuck. Okay, Diane. So, well, yeah, but, guess what? Guess what? We may be eating some things we never thought we'd ever eat when it comes to starvation, I used to dry fish and take it with me on the road. When I was camping, I'd make a mulligan stew. I'd get 10 different types of wild vegetation: wild carrot, wild asparagus, water crescent, dandelion, and all this stuff, and put it in a pot and boil it with some vinegar and salt. And I had a mulligan stew. I'd cut some salami, throw some salami slices in there, and boy, was it a pretty good soup, And okay, love matters. We'll see you in a bit. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're in terrible times. Here we are in America celebrating this phony July, 4th of July, and that's all it is, because the Illuminati founded America May 1st, 1776. That which is first is superior in law. So they founded America first, and therefore the 4th of July is a big sham on the people, and yet they still blow those fireworks off, and people go there, and they're getting ready to blow a bunch of fireworks at us. They hate our guts. The Jews hate our guts. The Islam hate our guts. The Masons hate our guts. They all hate decent people. They hate mankind. It's amazing. They've organized an entire world against the final remnant of Christianity. They cause them to despise us. You know, I get over when the African Americans joined the Klan or the Freemasons, and they have no idea that the Freemasons were the ones who formed the Klan and murdered black Americans, you know, and and then they joined the Masonic Order, but they're not welcome in the regular lodges. They got to have their own black lodge, another form of discrimination. Wonder when these people will wake up, ladies and gentlemen. I wonder, huh? All right, let's get to it. 21, chapter 21 in the saga of the continuing read on how the Watchers fell. And they were warned to stay away from the seed of Cain, but they didn't, did they? So, and let me turn off my air conditioner. I've got the sun's down now. It's cooling down here. So hang on. I'll be right back. Give me 30 seconds. And thank you for that. Okay, we're on it. And welcome to any of our new listeners out there that are on the stream. And I hope you get an earful from the Forbidden History and find what you're getting here that is relevant truth. Okay, it's not to take away from any of the efforts of other people. There are many great researchers. I used to interview a lot of great ones, and I'm also a product very often in some way or other of their own research. Like Ralph Epperson, who wrote the book The Unseen Hand, and several other books. And Ralph wasn't always right. He had some pretty good theories on the assassination of Kennedy that, you know, like the driver shot him and he was wrong. It finally came out. You know, there were 8 different rifles, all positioned, and the last one got Kennedy, and he was in the sewer, right there on the side of the road in the sewer, ready. And the driver turned around, and it looked like he shot Kennedy, but he just stopped the car. There was a chalk mark on the curb to let him know where he was supposed to stop if Kennedy was not dead yet or shot, you know, got the right bullet. And so there was 8 shooters, and only one of them was a dead hit. The one of them got him in the throat, and that's when he put his hands up. And so what a tragedy, you know. And there's pictures of George Bush Sr., Skull and Bones, Brotherhood of Death, right outside the book depository. You can't miss them, you know. So if you haven't seen that, here's where you could get that video. It's called It's a Rich Man's, I think it's something like it's the rich man's game. But, you know, maybe put in after that the assassination of John Kennedy. But it's a rich man's game, I think is what it's called. It's like a 3-hour, at least a 2-hour YouTube. But I've watched it twice now. And it is, I'm overwhelmed at how this guy pulled this all together. Okay, but people talk, and, you know, especially on their deathbeds. And this guy's got the entire thing. There was 8 different positions of rifles to show you how hard it was to shoot. And then they say it was one shooter, you know, the patsy, and all 3, you know, shots got Kennedy. Give me a break. Now some people are even trying to say his wife was shooting him. Oh, man, I'm telling you. There's no end to the nonsense. Okay, here we are, friends. 21. After this, another company gathered together. Now, if we remember the story, the Aryan brothers and cousins all were started coming off the mountain. And in Book of Enoch, it said the first 200 of them all made a covenant at the base of Mount Hermon and took their blood oaths right there. And the mountain was the witness. And so right out the gate, 200 of them came down. But then the rest of them started coming down till there was basically nobody left, you know, and except for Enoch, Methuselah, the sons of Noah. But, you know, so I deduced that approximately about maybe 1,000 of the Watchers came down in their society. And so let's just look at it like this. Imagine you've got 1,000 men who live to be 1,000 years old. Well, then that would be like 1,000,000 years worth of knowledge. And they are the ones who know how everything in the universe operates. So can you imagine? Can you imagine the knowledge that they had? They built pyramid civilizations around the world. They didn't need aliens to come down to show them how to do anything. They invented with these great megalithic structures at the same time the anti-gravity craft. They made, they made telescopes back then. I mean, look at all the sand on the beach. If they knew how to melt tin and copper to make bronze, do you think they stopped there? Don't you think they tried to melt everything they could to see what it would produce? Yeah. Look at all the sand on the beach. All I got to do is melt it and they make glass. It's everywhere. You see how blind we can be by lack of the true information and how easy it really comes down. They would have melted every kind of mineral ore and mix it together to find out the variable, elements that they could create, the most powerful steel swords or, whatever. But they then made these anti-gravity craft, and they okay, that I thought it might be for the program, but it's not. So what they did then, they landed with these craft on top of the pyramid civilization. So if you can imagine a type of UFO, land a silver craft that shines in the sky, landing on the top of a pyramid, like the classic Mayan pyramid over there in Central America, and then out of the craft comes somebody who's dressed with blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin, blonde hair blowing in the breeze, maybe a helmet, but all of his outer garment, the helmet and his breastplate, everything of tinsel gold, a silvery, shiny craft, and he comes out in tinsel gold with blonde hair and blue eyes and white skin, right? I mean, what an image, shining in the sun, and then they tell him that he came from up there, from the star Sirius. You see, they're not going to tell him that he came from the other side of the world, from India. No way. They're going to tell the people, the slaves, I come from another star. I am the great Elohim, the royal messenger of the great messenger. And you are supposed to bow down and worship me. And we need to have a barbecue. Maybe take care of our friends, And so that's, a simple expression of, what I clearly, know is the story behind all this, ladies and gentlemen. When you look at the entire story, it's right there. It's the greatest show on earth. It's always been a scheme of deception. Naturally, if you see those craft flying through the air, you'd think they were from outer space, but they are not outer space craft. They are inner space craft, okay? And so therefore, you just have to see and hear things that you've never heard before, and then very possibly it'll make sense to you, okay? 1,000 people, a million years worth of knowledge. They don't need anybody to come down and tell them what to do. They were already connected with the one who made the universe, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So there you go. Put that feather in your cap and see if that doesn't begin to change this whole premise about that, the only way we ever got technology was by some naked aliens who traveled hundreds of thousands of light years in craft, and I assume they ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, because I don't know what they would eat. They sure couldn't eat fresh vegetables. And how they got to live for 100,000 years, that's another good question. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, oh, geez, let me see. We got a caller. Hang on. We got a caller here. Let's see here. And Jedi, is that you?
Jedi, it's Jedi. I'm sorry to interrupt your program.
Well, you're not interrupting if you're a caller. So you have a comment or a question, Jody?
I just have a quick question. Are you next going to be reading the lost book of the Bible, the Forgotten Books of Eden?
Yeah, that's what I'm on right now. I'm just about to start reading it. Correct.
Okay. And where are you in there, so I can follow?
Yeah, it's chapter 21. It's the second book of Adam and Eve, chapter 21.
Second book of Adam and Eve. Okay. All right. Excellent. Excellent.
And you're listening in on the stream then, right?
Oh, sure. You were going through, you kind of threw me back in time to 2008 when we did this.
And speak up, Jody. Speak up, because you're a little low. Speak up, please.
When you were talking about he, me, him, she, and defining those things, you threw me right back to where we were 2008 when we were doing this, and it's fascinating, just simply fascinating.
Yeah, when I had the realpublicradio.net. So for our listeners, Jody was one of my friends and listeners back a decade and more ago, and we talked about these things back then, right, Jody?
Oh yes, and stick with it, people. It's your brain cells are about to burst. your brain cells are about to burst when you keep up with all of the phony alphabet that we have now versus what Desert has to offer you. It's most excellent.
Thank you, Jody.
I just wanted to, see what to follow along here in my books that I have, to check in with you to make sure if it was right. So.
Absolutely. And you, we've read the original gospel together, and you know that the original gospel is indeed the original gospel, don't you?
Oh yes. And believe it or not, I was even able to read it somewhat like Desert does.
That's right. She was importing the original thought. Thank you.
Was reading it in the original thought rather than the way it was written.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm thoroughly enjoying your show, and I just wanted to. I had thought that's the book you were in, and I had got my copy, and so we are in the Adam and Eve.
Yeah, the second book of Adam and Eve, chapter 21, and it may be a different page, but it's the right chapter, 21. Okay.
Got it.
All right, Jody. Thank you so much for calling.
Hello, everyone.
Good to have you. We'll talk.
Hello, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye. Oh, and yeah, well, I think she'll see, Diane, that you said hello, okay, because she'll be looking at the board, and same with you, Love Matters. So if anybody out there can help Jody to set up her YouTube account just so that she can go on the chat, I've got to find somebody that can help her set it up, because it was a couple years ago when I did it, and I'm not a technical geek, and so I don't feel qualified to help her. So if any of you ladies are proficient, I'd like to connect you with Jody, because she's all alone, and this is a place where she can, have some good diversion, and she's a friend, so consider, if if we can help, let me know if you can help, okay? Because I'm trying to help her so she can have her and come on the chat, so that's my objective. So I know it's got to be somebody in the U.S., because we got to get on a regular phone. Okay, so thank you for that and your consideration. And so she's not a geek, just like I'm not a geek. Okay, so anyway, back to the story, ladies and gentlemen. So we're on the chapter 21, and in the ancient past before the flood, and how the final group of the family of Adam and Eve, Hadam and Keva, dissipated into the world to take over the world. This was the beginning of recorded history and the takeover of our world by the unseen hand, the ancient Aryan Brahmin priesthood. They set up the priesthood, and in fact, that we're going to be reading that very soon. And I'll tell you what, I'll jump into it. If I finish this part tonight, I got some Enoch here, so I may want to read that Enoch as another aspect of this. But one way or another, I'm going to pull together, probably tomorrow, I think, the part out of the original gospel, which talks about him further, because I want you to get as much of the picture as possible. So I may jump into that original gospel I'm reading in the morning and jump ahead so you can see it. I want to give the complete picture, okay, because you got to see it. It wasn't some invisible creatures with wings on their back and somehow they're sexually stimulated. Those creatures are of all pure fantasy of man's imagination, and I'm certain it's a propaganda pulled together by the Illuminatis, because they don't want us to know it's them, it's their heritage. This is where this thing about the Aryanism is where we get the word arrogant. This arrogance of the white race being better than everybody else. Okay, it's not the way it is. Oh, Jody, looks like Love Matters is giving out her phone number, and so give her a call. Okay, I'm sure you see the board. so I don't need to read it, and I'll have it if you know, if you're not able to see the board for any reason, but I'm sure you do. So just minimize the screen, and you'll see the message from Love Matters to Jody. Okay, so thank you, Love Matters, for that. Yeah, we want Jody to join in and say hello to everybody with everybody else. Okay, so yeah, it's people, and it's quite a group. These are the most intellectually sophisticated minds in the history. All the other cultures that came prior were primitive. They didn't have the sophistication, but yet the great Elohim did give them knowledge about medicine, plants that healed, making a fire. In other words, it wasn't like they didn't have a connection or that the Great Spirit didn't talk to them, but the Aryan race being a scapegoat at the same time, a scapegoat, because for whatever reason, Yahweh and our great Elohim, Yeshua, wanted to use an intellectual fabric that would then engineer these great civilizations that we find. In other words, it was a part of the development of, of our civilization. And in other words, the essence of what we see all around us with the megatropolises, New York City, the big citadels, the statues, the bridges, the monuments, the railroads, the airplanes, all of these things, the technology is a for lack of a better word, an evil archy, an evil creation. It's not that it's evil by itself, but it is that it was made with the intentions of deceiving and controlling mankind. Don't they have everybody looking at their iPhone instead of looking up at the sky? And I'm looking out over the mountain right there. I can't get over that red the way it's coming in. Beautiful in its element, but yet it's not natural. That's the problem. And so civilization is not natural either, ladies and gentlemen. And look what they did. They use it against us, right? They use it against us. They built it up. They claim to be the creators, and now they are the Shiva, and they are now the destroyers. And they're happy to do it too. They're so happy. They're all pouring milk on their lingam and having a party. While people suffer and are ritually sacrificed and abused. It's amazing. They're destroyed all the beautiful creatures. I see the beautiful pictures of deer in the woods, and what a creature. Never hurts anybody. A deer just goes out there, wants to eat leaves and not bother anybody. And they got all these chemicals falling from the sky, killing their world. What a tragedy. Let me get with this read. I keep rolling here. So, and thank you again for calling, Jody. That was nice to hear from an old friend. 2021. After this, another company gathered together, and they went to look after their brothers. But they perished as well as but they perished as well as they. Okay. And so it was, company after company, until only a few of them were left. Then Jared sickened from grief, and his sickness was such that the day of his death drew near. Then he called Enoch, his eldest son, and Methuselah, Enoch's son, and Lamech, his son, and the son of Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. It should be Nova. Noah is Nova, okay? It means new star, because he's going to be ushering in the next age of the world on the other side of the flood. It's Nova. Notice that it's spelled differently in the Septuagint, and then it's spelled differently in our other scriptures. So obviously there is no set order for his title, his name, and I finally have seen it, and it is Nova, because he is the new star. And so let me continue. So then Jared, they called their sons, and Noah, the son of Lamech. And when they were come to him, he created light over them, and he baruch and endowed and enlightened them, and said to them, "You are perfect in the light, my innocent sons. do not go down from this pure anointed mountain, for you must see and read it for yourself. Your little ones and your little ones have gone down from this only true anointed pure mountain. Imagine these people are hundreds of years old, you know? Can you imagine being several hundred years old? Wow. Talk about wisdom, right? Like as much as you know now, right? After all these years, you finally know stuff, and you're thinking now you're just about ready to hit the grave. And how come, we can't get a little, a little further down the road, and no sooner do we figure everything out, and it's already like we're too tired to do anything, right? It's amazing. So, and when they were come to him, he created light over them, and he baruch them, blessed them, and go not down from this holy mountain, and have estranged, and they who as those who have estranged themselves from this holy mountain through their abominable lust and transgression of the great Del of Haim's transgression. I understand, Love Matters. We can do it on the side. You can email it to me if you want, your number, and I'll pass it on to Jody. Contact at FreeAmericaRadio.com if you want somehow. Okay, and but I know through the power of the great Del of Haim that he will not leave you on this holy mountain, because your children have transgressed his commandments and that of our fathers, which we had received from them. But my true and perfect seed, the great Del of Haim, will take you to a strange land, and you will never will ever again return. You must see and read it for yourself with your own eyes, this garden and this pure mountain. For this reason, my true and perfect seed, set your hearts on your own selves, and keep the instructions of the great Elohim, which is with you. And when you go from the pure anointed mountain into a strange land that you do not know, take with you the body of our father Hadam, and with it these three precious gifts and offerings, namely the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh, and let them be in the place where the body of our father Hadam will lay. And they placed him back, I'm certain, in the area of Jerusalem. And unto, that's where they started, and that's where they end up going back, okay? But the flood was a temporary disruption. And unto him of you shall be left of my true perfect sons, the word of the great Elohim, the anointed Shavor that comes. And when he goes out of the land, he will take with him the body of our father Adam, and will lay it in the middle of the earth, and that's Jerusalem, the center of the earth, and the place in which salvation will be performed. Okay, no question, it's Jerusalem. And Nova breathed unto him, who is he of us that will be left? And Jared answered, you, Nova, are the one, the I that shall be left. And you will take the body of our father Hadam from the cave, and place it with you in the ark when the flood comes. And your son Shem, that would probably be Shulam. I know Shem is a corruption. It's probably Shulam, which means the knowledge of all things, the knowledge of sound. And where was I? And who will come out of your loins? He it is who will lay the body of our father Adam. And that was also Melchizedek, by the way. This is who becomes Melchizedek. Okay, Melchizedek, father of, and he is who will lay the body of our father Adam in the middle of the earth, in a place where the soul novation, salvation, will come. Then Jared turned to his son Enoch and said unto him, you, my son, abide in this cave and minister diligently before the body of our father Hadam all the days of your life, and feed your people in the perfection of light and innocence. And Jared said no more, and his hands were loosened, his eyes were closed, and he entered into rest like his fathers. His death took place in the 360th year of Noah, 360. That's the mean time between the sun and lunar cycle. That's what we go by as a 360 um, uh, degree circle, right? 360 degrees. Um, and he entered into the rest of his fathers. And his death took place on the 360th year of Noah. Oh, of Noah. Forgive me, of Noah. He was older. Yeah, Jared was older. And his death took place on 360th year of Noah, and in the 989th year of his own life. 989 years. Boy, that's just under 1,000 years. And on the 12th of Takhas, on a Friday. But Jared died, and tears streamed down the face by reason of his great sorrow for the children of Seth who had fallen in his days. Then Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah, these four wept over him, embalmed him carefully, and then laid him in the cave of treasures. Then they rose up and mourned for him 40 days. And then these days of mourning were ended, and Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah remained in sorrow of heart because their father had departed from them, and they saw him no more. But Enoch but Enoch kept the commandments of Jared his father and continued to minister in the cave. It is this Enoch to whom many wonders happened, and who also wrote a celebrated book, but those wonders may not be told in this place. Then after this the children of Seth went astray and fell, they and their children and their wives. And when Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah saw them, their hearts were suffered by reason of the fall into doubt and full of lack of trust. And they wept and sought the mercy of the great Elohim to preserve them and to bring them out of that wicked generation. Enoch continued his ministry before the Yahweh 385 years, and at the end of that time he became aware through the grace, the favor for all of the great Elohim, that the great Elohim intended to remove him from the earth. He then said to his son, "True, perfect, and complete, my seed, I know that the great Elohim intends to bring the waters of the flood upon the earth and to destroy our creation. And you are the last rulers over the people on this mountain, for I know that not one will be left you to engender seed on this pure mountain. Neither shall any one of you rule over the seed of his people, neither will any great company be left of you on this mountain." Enoch said also to them, "Watch over your souls, your shul, your knowledge, and hold fast by your fear of the great Elohim, and by your service of him, and pay homage unto him, the one of the many, in upright victory of light, and serve him in the perfection of light, innocence, and Yodkaimen, pure judgment, in the rebreath of a star, and also impurity." Then Enoch had ended his instructions to them, and the great Elohim transported him from the mountain to the land of life, and that would be the atom, the sun, to the mansions of the perfect in the light and of the chosen, the abode of paradise of enlightenment, in light that reaches up to the sky, light that is outside of the light of this world. For it is the light of the great Yahweh that fills the entire world, but which no place can contain. This is how, and this is because Enoch was in the light of the great Elohim. He found himself out of the reach of death until the great Elohim would have him die. Altogether, not one of our fathers or of our seed remained on that pure mountain except those three, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. For all of the rest went down from the mountain and fell into the closing of the eyes and the darkness with the children of Cain. Therefore were they forbidden that mountain, and no one remained on it but those dream men. And that's the end of the book of Adam and Eve, ladies and gentlemen, the second book of Adam and Eve. And what a saga, what a legacy of our ancient past. How wonderful that it's still preserved so that we can hear the story. Wow, okay. And yeah, I hope she got it. If not, we'll try to figure out how to help Jody out. Love matters. And so everybody, you know, tomorrow is supposed to be celebrating independence, when it's a big lie, and it's really they made us interdependent. And if other nations don't want to give us their goods like China, we'll be in real trouble. They practically own us. Basically, we're so interdependent that we don't make anything anymore. We're just a good service community and a bunch of slaves on Social Security and disability and war pensions, and it's all a big lie, right? It's all a big lie, and they've been eating us up, and it's time to be set free and realize that the message of tomorrow's independence is just a fraud on the American people, and maybe use that as a way to really see how significant it is to really connect with the truth, and I know that most of you, all of you, have already, and but we need to keep examining all the things that are coming at us. Hey, Diane, thank you. You're falling asleep. All the best to you. Peace and love. And thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast. All right. And we'll see you again real soon, I'm sure. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you for tuning in, and hope you're telling your friends about the broadcast. And I'm happy to talk to any of you on the side. You've got my contact information. And so just don't forget, if you want to know the future, just look for the Forbidden History. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for tuning in. And we'll look for you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on the RealPublicRadio.net, Free America Radio Network. Be safe and be well. Good night.